Hello. Let me see here. Waiting for the stream to go live. There it is. Thanks for joining me. Welcome to part 2 of building this NodeJS static site starter command line tool. Basically, building a Node app step by step that just sets up a few HTML files and some JavaScript files and adds some link tags to it after a user answers some prompts in the command line. Not using any like Webpack or TypeScript or anything like that for as far as the site goes. It's just really basic setup, mostly to show off how you can work with the async await syntax in Node and the file system modules. So let's go ahead and take a look at where we left off last time. I'm going to go ahead and open the static site starter project where it was last left. Here we go. And I usually, anytime I sit down to work, I'm probably too small in the font. Let me make that a little bigger. There we go. Hopefully that's easier to see now. Usually when I come back after a few days off from a project, I like to just pull up my git log here and see what I did last time. So it looks like I removed unnecessary output. I added a live stream link to the README, and I prompted the user to include jQuery. So let's go ahead and run the app at this point. So I'm going to run node index.js, and it's asking me for a title for my site, so I'm going to call it example. Include jQuery, sure, why not? And now it generated a folder. We can see if I type ls, we can see that's created an example folder right here in the same directory that I ran the command from. And then if I open up the folder, there's an images folder, scripts folder, style sheets folder. I don't think there's anything in those at this point. And then in index.js, I opted into jQuery, so I have jQuery 3.5 minified from a CDN linked into this HTML file. And that's pretty much where we left things off. It put in the site title and an h1 tag, and that's about it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and delete the output. In fact, it might be a good idea. Oh no, never mind. I was going to say git ignore, except for the way I have it programmed, the folder's gonna have whatever name you gave for the site, so that's actually not gonna really work. So I'm just gonna remove the output from our run, and then just double check where my README is at. So create style sheets, images, and scripts. Answer a series of questions. All right, so when we left off, we had a jQuery, and so I think the next step is we want to add the ability to prompt the user for Bootstrap 4, and then include Bootstrap 4 if the user says yes. So I think kind of working backwards from the endpoint, which I believe is how I worked during part 1. We're going to do that again. So I'm going to run npm. Actually, first, I'm going to make this a little easier. So see where it says scripts here? I'm going to add a script called start, and that's going to run node index.js. And that just means that you can run npm run start or npm start to run the app. I'm also going to update the README to say as much. So requirements here, what does the tool do? Okay. Run usage. Let's see, after installing required items, we'll say run, I'm comma splicing here, run npm start after installing required items, and then in parentheses I can say C. And I'm going to go ahead and put a link. So Markdown, you can link to other sections just simply by typing in the section name in all lowercase. And I'm going to say C requirements, like so. And that just means the user, that makes a little link to that section. Looks like I got my markdown syntax wrong. Just gonna look it up. I'm gonna try one more thing before I look it up. Is it just a hashtag I need in here? Is that what I missed? No, maybe it's parentheses around it. Right, parentheses. Something like this. Yeah, that's it. All right. I think that should work, yeah. And that just takes you to the requirements section. Okay, so npm start should work. It does. I'm going to cancel out really quick and commit my changes. So git add-a and git commit -m add start script to package JSON. Go. Oop, it helps if I say -m. And there we go. All right, so added a npm run start script. So now I'll just run npm start, and it's asking me for a title for my site. I'm going to call it, sure, why not? We'll call it my site. Include jQuery. Nah, let's start off with just Bootstrap, no jQuery. If I go to index.js, here we go. It's got no jQuery, so that's the next step. I'm going to go ahead and pull open jQuery, or not jQuery, Bootstrap, Twitter Bootstrap. So we're going to go to getbootstrap.com. And actually, I want to use, I was going to go to there, to the CDN from getbootstrap.com, but I'm intentionally using CDN scripts on CDN.js because eventually I may want to use the API at CDN.js, which will allow me to, instead of hard code the version, I can always pull the latest version if I want using their API. So I'm going to go ahead and go to CDN.js and see if we have Bootstrap. Twitter Bootstrap, that's what we want. So for now, we need to grab the CSS. I'm just going to only offer bootstrap.bundle.min. What's the difference between bundle and just bootstrap? I'm not quite sure. Difference between bundle and bootstrap. Well, I'm going to go back to the docs. I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that. Let's find out. Let's see. Twitter Bootstrap. What is the difference between bundle? So Bootstrap bundle and bundle min include Popper, but not jQuery. Interesting. That's good to know. I'm going to want to use that when my user chooses both full jQuery and Twitter Bootstrap. Very interesting. All right. So it looks like I'm going to go for CDN.js, just the Bootstrap min.js and the Bootstrap min.css is what I want to use. So Bootstrap min CSS, there you are. I'm going to copy the link tag, go to my output file, and we're going to pop it in right here in the title. Yay. Okay, and then we also want to get the Bootstrap components. I'm not going to worry about letting the user pick like style only or different variants, you know, grid only, no popper, yes popper. I'm just gonna, if the user opts in to Twitter Bootstrap, it's gonna put everything in. It's not that hard to remove the script tags later. So that's gonna be my, at least for my initial approach, that's the way we're gonna do things. So let's see, we got bootstrap min.css, and now I need bootstrap min.js. In here, and let's see, bootstrap min.js. And now it's time to go and get Popper. Maybe the bundle is the way to go. Bootstrap bundle includes Popper, but not jQuery. No, I want to be able to opt out of Popper. I'm going to go find Popper up here. What version does jQuery work with when it comes to Popper? It looks like 1.16.1. Go find Popper. Interesting. So, it would appear that Popper version is version 1.16. So, let's see if I can find that 1.16. There we go. And which build does jQuery use based on their documentation? It looks like the UMD Popper min.js. So going back here, UMD Popper min.js. That looks like the ticket. Popper utils, ESM, UMD. That's what we want. I'm going to copy that script tag. And that needs to come before jQuery, or excuse me, not jQuery, but Bootstrap. And then finally, what Bootstrap, what jQuery version is 3.5.1 Slim. So going back to CDN.js, we'll go to jQuery, and it looks like 3.1 Slim minified. Perfect. So we're going to copy that one and drop it in. Okay. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and preview this in my browser and just make sure it looks okay. Looks very bootstrappy. See no errors from anything failing. Oh, wait, we do have an error. Status code 404. Failed to load source map. Okay, that's interesting. You know what? For now, we're going to skip CDN.js for that reason. Instead, I'm just going to go grab the stuff off getbootstrap.com. So that was a big waste of time, basically. And might as well get that tag as well. Save. Go back and go to my site here and reload the page. All right, now there's no errors. Looks like I'm getting the source maps. Hooray. Okay. So that's what it needs to be looking like. Excuse me. So reverse engineering this. It looks like I'm going to have to insert the CSS separate from all the script tags. Just going to copy the script tags and go to my index.js here. And let's see. Here's render HTML. And it looks like my so I'm just defining my script tags right up here for now. I'll continue doing the same. Just paste these in, comment them out for a moment. So the first one is const jQuery min script, slim, jQuery slim script equals, and now just use some backticks for that one. Then going to the next line, this is Popper, so const Popper script and then const ES4 script equals, wrap that in. Perfect. So now I've got my script tags defined. I'm going to go ahead and auto format with Alt Shift and F shortcut keys on PC. I believe it's Option Shift F on Mac, but you might need to verify that. I don't use a Mac on a regular basis, so I might be wrong. Okay, we've got variables for the script tags I'm going to need, and so next step is conditionally add them in. So I need a use bootstrap. And what I think I'm going to do is instead of all this here interpolated, like adding some more, like another ternary, what I think I'm going to do is just make a const scripts. And I'm just going to make that an array, I suppose. Then say if use jQuery to scripts.push jQuery script. And else if use bootstrap scripts dot push, and then I'll add, let's see, scripts dot push jQuery slim hopper and BS4 script, like so. Ooh, I don't like else if on a separate line if I'm not going to have curly braces. So we're going to add curly braces there, and just to make it easier to read, I'm going to add some curly braces here. Yeah, it's just a little easier to read. So now we get our scripts array and push jQuery, jQuery slim, etc. And so now what I can do here instead is just take my scripts array, scripts.join, and I'll go ahead and join them with a new line. And that'll put a new line between each script tag. All right, so going to go ahead and take my use bootstrap property here. And then I wonder if I should present a list instead of a conditional. Let's just keep things simple. So we'll just do another question here. Call this one, I think I called it use bootstrap. So I'm going to stick with that name and call it use bootstrap over here. And this will say include bootstrap 4, like so. And let's go test it out. So now I'm going to go ahead and rm-rf my site. Okay, node text, let's go ahead and run it. My site, why not include jQuery? Nah. Bootstrap, yes please. And let's just make sure the HTML looks right. Oh no, it does not look right. Which means I made a mistake somewhere. So let's follow this through. I said use bootstrap was the name. It asked me use bootstrap as a confirm. I calculated the site title, the site path, the site folders. We made the folders. Wrote the file. Aha! I didn't pass all my answers along. Right here. So where did use jQuery get defined? Right here in my await. That's where I went wrong. Okay, so use bootstrap. Then I need to pass in use bootstrap right here. Okay. Go ahead and remove my site and then run the app with npm start. Okay, my site. Why not call it my site again? Really interesting, isn't it? Say nah to jQuery. Say yes, please to Bootstrap 4. And let's find out. How do we do? That looks better. The indentation is off. I'm displeased. I'm displeased by that. Not that it's that big a deal really, but easy enough. I can fix that. There we go. Indentation resolved. One more test here. Oh, I wish I were including automated testing in this demo, but I'm not. I hate manually testing my code. Include jQuery? No. Include Bootstrap 4? Absolutely. And drum roll, please. Huzzah! There we go. I think it's time to make a commit. So first, I'm going to remove my site, and then I'm going to say git add, and I only made changes in index.js, so just git add -a, and then git commit. Add option to include Bootstrap 4. And there we go. Very nice. Okay, so one more thing I want to address here. Let's see, how long have we been streaming for? Oh, only 10 minutes. Awesome. Let's keep motoring on then. Is what happens when my user chooses both jQuery and Bootstrap? Because right now, I think what will happen is I'll have both the full jQuery minified script and the slim minified, but the slim minified will come after, which means it will, I believe, override jQuery to have the minified version, which means no Ajax, among other things. And that's probably not what we're going for. If the user opted in the jQuery, there's a good chance that that user wants Ajax and some of the other utilities that are missing from the slim version. So I think our first condition should be if use jQuery and use Bootstrap. And then else if use jQuery, else if. Yeah, sure. It's not the only way to do it, but I think it's straightforward and easy enough to read and understand. So that's how I am going to do it. There's so many ways I could write that. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Okay, scripts.push. So for this version, I want the full jQuery script followed by the popper script. So we're skipping the slim script. It's for, you know what? That probably warrants a comment. Don't use slim jQuery. Just a little note there. Okay. Try this one again. npm start. And we're going to call this amazing. I wonder what happens if I can get away with an emoji. Kind of curious to see what happens. We're going to call, okay, yep. Didn't work out so great, but let's find out what happens anyway. Include jQuery, yes please. Include Bootstrap 4, and yes please. Okay, let's see what we ended up with. Holy smokes, look at that. I got a bang in my file name. Something tells me that may not be compatible on other operating systems. I'd be curious to look into that. So I've got my amazing boom. Welcome to my amazing boom. But more importantly, did we get the right jQuery? Aha! I did. Yes. Okay then. I'm going to go ahead and delete this folder. And now make another commit. And actually, before I make a commit, just kind of make sure my code is formatted and see if I feel the need to do any refactoring at this point to make the code either easier to read or maintain. Not really seeing any repetition here. I kind of feel like could almost move setting up scripts into another function just to make render HTML a little more straightforward in how it reads, but I think I'm not going to do that. Actually, it might be a nice choice here just for a little bit of separation, and I think maybe I'm going to put anything related to rendering HTML into a separate file. So I'll make that a separate commit though. So git add -a and then git commit -m for a message, and handles jQuery with Bootstrap for case. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and push that up to GitHub. Did I even put it on GitHub? I did. Awesome. I should probably include a link to that, to this repo for those that want the code. Okay, great. Now a quick refactor here. I said I wanted to move all the HTML related stuff into a separate module, so I'm going to do that next. I'm going to call this module, I don't know. How about I just call it render HTML.js? Yeah. And now I can take this function and move it over to render HTML. And I'm just going to module.exports my render HTML function like so. And now I can just, not that it really matters if this is in the function or not. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave it alone for now. Just kind of moves this mess of this template string over. Oh, you know what I forgot? Oh, silly, silly me. I never put in the Twitter Bootstrap CSS. Ha! If you're watching and it was driving you crazy earlier, I am so sorry. Let me go ahead and go back and get that. Oops. Going back to Bootstrap. Get the CSS, please. I'm going to add another tag here and just say const bs4 css, like so. Link, following the naming convention. That should be a capital C. There we go. And there it is. There it is. Format the code. I almost feel like I should just move all this junk, all these links to a separate configuration file, but let's not get carried away. And now we need to optionally include the CSS4 link. I'm going to do that right here with a little condition. If we have used Bootstrap, then I want to include the Bootstrap for CSS. Why am I not getting autocomplete suggestions? CSS link, else just keep an empty string here. Okay. So another quick test, npm run start. There we go. My site. Wonderful page. Yay. Include jQuery? Sure. Include Bootstrap 4? Absolutely. Let's go see how wonderful page turned out. Uh-oh. Again, I forgot. No, wait. I didn't forget. What? What? What's going on here? Oh. I forgot to import my render HTML. Gonna go back. That's what I get for getting sidetracked on my mistake. So I'm going to delete render HTML here from index.js and go up to the top and import it. Const render HTML equals require render /render HTML. Okay, that's better. Delete that. Try again. There we go. Enter a title. My site. Yes. Please use jQuery. Please use Bootstrap. And let's see how we did. That is so much better. Yeah. Let's just double check here. Open in default browser. While we're at it, let's just check container dot header one dot display one hello world. Let's make sure it looks very bootstrappy. Sure does. Okay. Time to make another commit. Git add -a git commit fix missing bs4 css. There we go. Git status. Things great. I'm going to go ahead and push that change. All right. So now we have a little bootstrapper for a basic website. Lets me create the home page along with some Bootstrap involved. What else shall I include here? I think maybe opting in for a CSS reset instead. That's something when I don't want to use Bootstrap and just want my own custom CSS. That's pretty normal for me. So maybe we'll add that. We'll add either a reboot or probably just the MyerWeb, just the basic CSS reset. So I'm going to go get the MyerWeb. CSS reset should get me the goods. There we are. And I'm just going to make that a separate file. New file. Reset. I'm going to put this in source folder or an assets folder. Yeah, assets. New file, reset.css. There we go. All right. So if the user chooses to include the reset CSS, we should not include jQuery or Bootstrap. So I think that question needs to come first. So ask user if user wishes to use CSS reset. Don't ask for jQuery and Bootstrap if user chose reset. So that's something we're going to get back to. Just to keep my usual workflow of working backwards, that's going to be the last thing. But I wanted to write that down before I forgot about it. Okay, and we're going to need a way to copy reset CSS over into our created files and add a link. So if I'm going to work backwards, it seems to me this first thing to do is copying reset CSS over. So I'm going to go pull up in the node docs, NodeJS, copy file, files, fs. Let's just do fs. Okay, what comes up? File system. I'm using node 12. So I'm going to change the version 12 LTS. And then look and see. I think there's a copy file. Yep. And you know what? Oh yeah, I wanted to show off async await. So we're going to go with copy file async, even though for an app like this, it's probably perfectly fine to choose synchronous unless you intend to deploy it as like a web service and people can run it and download it from a web page. Then you definitely want asynchronous. Okay, copy file. Looks pretty straightforward. Source file, destination file, flags as modifiers, default is 0. Let's see, what are the modifiers? The modifiers. Flags is an optional integer that specifies the behavior of the copy operation. It's possible to create a mask consisting of bitwise or of 2 or more values. So copy file, the operation will fail if destination already exists. I don't need that. Copy operation will attempt to create a copy on write. pretty sure the default options are going to be just fine and dandy. So I'm just going to copy this as a reference so I don't have to keep toggling back and forth. And I'm just going to make this a separate function call. Paste the reference code in. We're going to call this function add Css Reset. And I'm going to go up top here and add another const. What's the name of this function? Copy file. So copy file equals util.promissify again, and then fs.copy file, like so. And that, by turning that into a promise instead of a callback signature, allows me to use the async await syntax. So let's go ahead and return my copy file function, and then we need to pass in reset.css. So actually, I think I'm going to take path as a parameter. So I'm going to let this function receive an object, and that object is going to have a file path parameter. And now I'm just going to say path.join. So I'll call this dir name instead. Dir name, no, dir path. And now we'll say dir path reset.css. No, you know what? I'm not even going to do that. And keep it stupid simple. I'm just going to call it file path and make it the job of the caller to calculate that path out. So I'm going to say destination is file path, and that's actually the second argument. So the source is always going to be assets reset CSS. So I'm going to say first we're going to use, so in Node there is a global called __dir name, and what this gives you is the absolute path to the node module the code is sitting in. So in my case, it's the actual absolute file path on the system for index.js. And that means that no matter where this tool gets called from, whatever the current directory is, doesn't matter. It's going to completely find my assets reset CSS based on the location of index.js. So I'm going to say path.join, and then I'm going to use dir name followed by assets, so /assets reset.css, and that gets the Meyer Web reset, and then we're going to copy that into file path. So that should work. And just to kind of show off what dir name, oops, my headset shut off there. Pardon the interruption. Just really quick, just so you can see, I'm going to console.log dir name right at the top, just so you can see what I mean. So if I do npm start right now, we're going to see there is dir name, and you can see it's the absolute path of my system. So I have this running from F drive, my OneDrive folder on my F drive, desktop, static site starter is where the folder or the directory for index.js is, and that's very useful because that means I can add to that a relative path from this file index.js to wherever I am keeping my reset.css template, if you will, or source. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this npm script, go get rid of my console log. Now that we know what __dir name gets us, and I'm going to go ahead and assign this value to a variable simply because I think it's going to make the code easier to read. So I'm going to say const Css Reset source path equals. And now I'm going to cut this and use my variable in its place and then paste that here. Now it's just easy to see, oh, copy file. What are we copying? Oh, the resource, the CSS reset source path. And then we're going to copy it to whatever file path got passed in. And actually, instead of taking an object here, I'm just going to make it an argument. Add CSS reset. Perfect. And this returns copy file, which returns a promise because that's what I'm doing up here on line 10, which means that in my main function, I can await, which is what I want to do. So after making all the folders, I can say if use CSS reset, then I will call add CSS reset. I need to await it, so await CSS reset. No, not source path, CSS, what did I call this? Add CSS reset. Add CSS reset, and then I need to pass it the path for the destination path. Ooh, that would be a better name for my variable. Destination path, yes. And now we can see autocomplete tells me to give it a destination path. I like that. So path.join. And now I'm ready to take dir name and then, oh no, wait, I don't want dir name. How was I doing this before? Ah, site path right here. So it would simply be site path style sheets reset.css. And actually I can just make this a single string. There we go. So our destination path, oops, I was supposed to be passing this to path.join. So let's wrap that. Path.join. There we go. All right, so this should work. Of course, I have to say use CSS reset. I'm going to hold off on the conditional so I can just run this. npm start my site. No. All right, we got an error. File path is not defined, right? Because I changed the name of my parameter and didn't update it in the function. Try that one more time. My site. Oh, it's going to throw an error now. My site 2. No. There we go. Here's my site 2. There's reset CSS. Awesome. So I'm going to delete both of these. You're gone too. Okay, great. So now I'm getting my CSS reset. Now I need to add a Boolean, so it isn't always adding the reset. And for my Boolean, I need to add a question. So use CSS reset, and I need another confirm. That needs to be use CSS reset, and then I will say include CSS reset, and I'll just put Meyer Web 2.0. Make sure I use the right name for that. Did I just delete assets? I am so stupid. Oh my gosh. Assets. CSS reset. Unbelievable. Okay. Wow. MeyerWeb.com. guess I'll use a lowercase m. InquirerWeb.com 2.0. Sure. I think that works pretty well. Okay. So we got that included, and now we're going to use a feature of Inquirer where you can choose whether or not a question is displayed at all based upon previous answers, which is going to be pretty handy here because I don't want my user to choose both a reset and Bootstrap 4. Bootstrap 4 includes its own reboot, and the reset will probably maybe cause some issues with Bootstrap 4. I'm pretty sure it does. So going to go to the Inquirer docs to refresh my memory on how to do that. Inquirer on npm, and let's go find the options. So the when function. So the when property can either be a function or a Boolean. If it's a function, that's where it's really handy because it receives as an argument the current answers so far as an object. And then if it returns true, it shows the question. If it returns false, it withholds the question. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here to my use bootstrap function and say when. And then my when needs to be a function. It receives the answers. And actually, the only answer I am interested in is the use CSS reset answer. And then I just want to return false if use CSS reset was true. So I'm going to say not use CSS reset. And that's going to hide the Bootstrap 4 question if I've chosen to include the CSS reset. I don't think I need these anymore. Maybe a comment here might be helpful. Do not show Bootstrap 4 option if user chose to use CSS reset. Potential conflict. So this is probably not the best way. A list might make more sense simply because, you know, if maybe somebody who didn't read the README is running my app, and you know, or maybe I'll forget if I'm using it, if I'm the only one who ever uses this, which is in all probability the case. I might forget that I can choose Bootstrap or a reset. So you know what? I just changed my mind. While this when feature might be kind of cool and fun to show off, I think a list might be the better choice. So I need to restructure things. Because right now I have two Boolean options for use Bootstrap and use CSS. And instead, I think I just want one CSS option and make it a list, which is what I'm going to do. So, new question, name, CSS options, or CSS option. And it's going to be a list question. My message will be choose CSS framework reset/framework. And then I can offer up some choices. And for choices, what I'm going to do is use an array. So if we look at the Inquirer docs, there's two ways to list off choices. Let's see if we can find raw list, expand, checkbox. Finding it, looking. It's almost time to wrap up. Hurry. Boy, where'd it go? All right, fine. Choice. Oh, here it is. So choices can be an array or a function. Array values can be simple numbers, strings, or objects containing name and a value. So the name is what the user sees, and value is what I get back in my answers hash up here. Oh, which by the way, I added CSS option. So I want to add CSS option in, and now my choices array, option 1 is going to have a name of Bootstrap 4. And that's going to be a value of BS4. And then that will be the second option. The first option will be name Css Reset. And I will go ahead and make sure I include MyRweb.com 2.0 just so I know what reset's being used. And I will go ahead and give that a value of reset. Okay, so the values are reset and BS4. I'm going to get rid of my use CSS reset question and my use bootstrap question. Okay. So I need to make a few changes to adapt to what I just did. So I'm going to get CSS option back, and now that means use bootstrap and use CSS reset are both goners. Which means a couple of things. I could just refactor this to calculate those variables right up here, and then I don't have to change anything. But what I think I'm going to do instead is go ahead and update this all the way down into my render HTML function. So instead of like use jQuery, use Bootstrap, I'm just going to say CSS option. Oh, and I forgot to give the none option. So I'll go ahead and add that. Is there a no choice option built into the list question type? I wonder. Let me see. Default filter and loop properties. Might be nice. Do I want a default? I don't want a default. I don't really care. Let's just add a none. None. There we go. Reset, BS4, and none. And you know what? This could be easy to mess up if I keep retyping these strings everywhere. So I think what I'm going to do is leave it be for now. Leave it be. Just pass those strings in. Get rid of this reference code here. Okay, passing the strings in. We're passing CSS option in. It's defined up here. Perfect. So a nice feature of VS Code is if you want to jump to where a function's defined, I can control click on my function, and it's going to take me right to my render HTML file. And now instead of saying use Bootstrap, I can say CSS option. And now my conditional is going to read differently. So use jQuery and CSS option triple equals BS4. Except for I have that twice, don't I? Because I have the else if and the else if. So I think I'm going to go ahead and say const use bootstrap equals CSS option BS equals BS4, and that way I can just keep the same logic in my conditional down here. And I think that's going to work. Let's try it out. Go ahead and run npm start. Choose a title, my site. Use jQuery. Sure. I'm going to choose the Web reset, and I'm going to get a reference area. So I have use CSS reset is not defined, so it looks like I missed a spot back in index here. So I control clicked on this link, this path down here, and took me to the file. And I did not update this, so it needs to say if CSS option equals reset. Okay, let's try that again. Deleting my site, and let's try that again. npm start. Enter title, my site. jQuery, sure. CSS reset, yep. My site, style sheets, reset CSS, excellent. Okay, so all that remains is including a link to that now. So if I go to, let's make sure, actually I should make sure it works if I don't use it. So first delete my site and then run the app again. My site, include jQuery, nah. Use none. And now my site gets generated with nothing and nothing. Beautiful. Okay. Go ahead and clean up the folder I just created. Almost there, almost there, almost there. I think, yeah, as soon as I get the script tag in, I think I'll stop there. Okay, so got my choices. Reset, BS4, and none. Now I just need to add the script tag, or not the script tag, but the link in render HTML. So I'm going to say const reset CSS link equals, and that's just going to be link rel equals style sheet and href equals, it's a relative path to style sheets is the name of the folder, reset.css. All right, and that should do. Format my code here, and then I need to go down to my great tree of dependencies and say, let's see, if use jQuery and I think another else if ought to getter. Oh no, wait, this is scripts. So I just go down here. I think I'm going to do the same thing for CSS. So I'm just going to have const CSS link equals I think a switch case actually. So let CSS link, and then I'll do actually a switch case doesn't really work. Well, I mean it can, but I think I'm just going to do if CSS option triple equals reset and CSS link. I'll make it an empty string by default. So if CSS option equals reset, CSS link equals reset CSS link, else if CSS option equals BS4. Actually, I should use my same Boolean, so let's move that up and just say else if use Bootstrap CSS link equals BS4 CSS link, else CSS link equals nada. Perfect. kind of our section here for creating the CSS link, our section for creating my scripts. And finally, down here, I'm going to replace my ternary with CSS link. Time to test code. npm run start. Enter your title, my site. Use jQuery. Okay. Use CSS Reset, please. So we have our My Site folder, and I have my style sheets reset CSS. Let's open this in the browser, and where we go. The reset is clearly here as my H1 is tiny. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. That is a good place to stop. So just quick recap, going back over everything we built. Let's first make a commit. So do I need to do any cleanup here? This function's getting awfully gnarly. I think normally I'd like to factor this out into like a build scripts and a build, or render scripts and render CSS links functions separately. But I'm not going to do that. We're just going to leave this as just one big gnarly function. And then index.js here. The other thing that's bothering me is I'm using these magic values for reset bs4 and none in two completely separate files. I'm not leaving that. I can't, just driving me nuts to do that. So I'm going to change module exports to export render HTML as a method of my exports, which means I need to go back to index now and use a little bit of destructuring. And that's going to allow me to create some constants. So I'm actually going to use a different style of syntax here. No, I'm not. I'm going to go up here and create a couple of constants though. Const. I'm going to say reset equals reset. Const. Or bs4 equals bs4. Actually, let's just spell it all the way out. Bootstrap 4 equals bs4. And I guess I'll do const none equals none. So this just enumerates our magic values, the magic values I had set. And that way I can instead export those. So bootstrap 4, reset, and none. So that enumerates those values. I need to now include those magic values here with reset and bootstrap, like so. And then back in index, I can import those. So I can say bootstrap 4, reset, and now those magic values can be replaced in this file. So instead of that, I can say bootstrap 4, and I can use reset here, and I can use none here. There we go. No risk of typos, more scalable going forward. Now I have one place to control. Option values. There we go. I'm happy with that. But that means I got to test things again because I don't have any automated testing. So npm start, my site, jQuery, yes. Reset, yes. Did it work? It did. It certainly did. Yes, I'm pleased with that. Okay, make a commit. Oops, I just added my site. rm dot, let's get reset, and then rm-rf my site. Now git add-a add CSS reset option. And there we go. Okay, quick recap, and that will be the end of the stream. So what did we do this time? Went back and added a start script, so you can use npm start to run the script. Added, reconfigured the prompts from Inquirer to make a list of options to solve the issue of wanting to keep choosing between CSS Reset and Bootstrap 4 mutually exclusive from each other. Continuing on, we added a function here to add the CSS Reset file, which meant bringing in fs.copy and making a promise version of that with the promisify utility, which allows me to use the async await syntax on it. So now I can await add CSS reset if the CSS option equals reset. Oh, look at that. My magic value missed a spot. That should say reset. And I'm going to need to commit that. Did I push git status? I did not push, which means I can make that change an amendment. So I'm going to git add index and git commit amend, no edit, and that just updates my last commit with the changes I just staged, so that change. Now that is a command you don't want to use if you've already pushed your changes, your commits, because that actually changes the commit history, which could, if you're on a team, that's going to cause problems for folks who have already pulled down those changes from GitHub. So you don't want to use that command, the amend command, unless the commits are only local to your branch on your local machine. Okay, so where were we? Going back over changes, we added the copying the reset file over, and then we also moved render HTML out to a separate file, which now exports some of these magic values, as well as our render HTML method. And render HTML saw a lot of changes. We added links, some constants to hold on to the MyRWeb reset CSS, along with links for Bootstrap 4 scripts and CSS. Added in a CSS link in our template, as well as a conditional block here to figure out what that string should be. We also added a scripts array with a conditional block to determine what script should be included, and then our code down here takes that array and joins it together and pops it into the output. And that concludes all the changes here. So feel free to keep going with this. A couple of thoughts I had that might be nice to include beyond all this is including maybe a formatter, so you don't have to worry so much about indentation and everything. If that matters to you for your output, you could, maybe figure out how to take Prettier or some other code formatter and include the package and pipe the output through Prettier or some other code, JavaScript formatter of your choice. Might be kind of fun thing to do. What else could you include in the output? Maybe some options files, like maybe a .vs code file with settings, including recommended extensions that you like to use. Some other options you might add in are some additional frequently used CSS frameworks instead of alternatives to Bootstrap 4 if you like. And another cool option might be to incorporate using the API for CDN.js in order to get the latest version of jQuery and other packages you include. That could be pretty cool. There's also other resets or a CSS reboot or normalized CSS. There's a lot of other options that could be added here just to enhance the usability for quickly bootstrapping your static websites. Hope you learned something here. Thank you so much for joining in. Hope you check out some of my other videos.